Hey everyone, welcome to the Esteban Hours Week in Review Sound Off. How are you doing today? I hope everybody is good. Okay, today's Sound Off is on Mr. Ron DeSantis, the Florida governor. So much going on in Florida these days. First, let's bring in our co-host, Mr. Jeremy Baker. Hey, Jeremy.
What is going on, everybody? I forgot to say in the last episode, don't forget to like and subscribe. See, that's why I say it at the beginning, because once we start talking, just all hell breaks loose and I forget. So
That's
please,
right. But I didn't forget
subscribe.
to say it. I said it in the last.
I know, man.
So
You're good at it, though. So
I got you.
So you got my back. I appreciate it.
Anytime. Who's our guest today?
Making his encore appearance to talk about Ron DeSantis from Long Island. Once again, we have Mike Foligno.
How you doing? Huzzah, great topic.
Yes.
Welcome back. This is your first time on the Week in Reviews Sound Off.
Yes.
And I hope not your last.
I can't see why it would be.
All right, let's get into it. So, as previously said, so much going on in Florida these days. So much. I mean, we can't even keep up with it. But on today's Sound Off, we're going to get into how Governor DeSantis is setting up the Florida Guard to be trained as his personal militia. Now, he will probably deny that or say it's not true. But the facts and the proof and the stories that we received from some of those that have been trained that quit don't say that it's not true. Then we have this slavery talk that's been going on in Florida. I mean, it's just out of this world. So many limitations and do's and don'ts that have been placed on Floridians and anybody who comes to visit the state of Florida. So before it was don't say gay. Now it's the Floridian Educational Department that has revamped the African American curriculum in regards to slavery. They are trying to point out something that slavery was good, or the slaves should be happy in some form. I don't know. I don't know. My brain just I don't know. Anyway, then we have the vice president's response to it. Vice President Kamala Harris. She visited Florida specifically to rebuttal the stance that DeSantis has on that slaves should be happy or did something good. I don't know, for themselves or their family. Let's get into it, gentlemen. First, with this personal militia thing, the Florida State Guard, established by a right-wing governor under the guise of a civilian disaster relief force, is instead being trained as an armed, combat-ready militia under his personal command. That is the personal command of Governor DeSantis. And this is according to military veteran recruits who have quit. They have quit the program because of this. Several veterans resigned after an encampment last month, having become concerned at the militaristic training and abuse that one disabled veteran suffered at the hands of instructors. So, I mean, is this true? Is this exactly what DeSantis is doing? And
yeah, it's even worse than we thought. Let me go ahead and play the video for you, and we'll go ahead and
there is nothing wrong with forming a state guard, considering it's supposed to consist of volunteers who would respond to disasters like hurricanes and other emergencies. But the volunteers in Florida argue that's not what they were being utilized for. And some of the volunteers who signed up for the program believe the group has become too militarized and abusive. In March, state lawmakers and the governor revealed that they wanted to assign the state guard $89 million to buy boats, planes, and helicopters. They wanted a specialized unit within the guard to have police powers and the ability to carry weapons. And they wanted to boost the state guard to 1,500 members. Instead of being activated only during emergencies within Florida, they could be sent to any state to protect and defend the people of Florida from threats to public safety.
Now, what does that sound like to you? I mean, Marjorie Taylor Greene would call it the gazpacho police, but this is like his own personal Gestapo.
And this is what he's campaigning on. This is what he's campaigning on, that he would like to bring to the remaining 49 states, to the nation. He wants this to happen. This is ridiculous. And the fact that they say that trying to train 1,500 to not only be a quote unquote militia in Florida, but to be able to go into other states and do their dirty work there too is absolutely outrageous. I'm not understanding the Republican factor of making rules for your state and then making a rule of what your own constituents cannot do in other states. What the hell?
Yeah, I mean, go ahead.
Oh, well, as with everything, with this rising tide of fascism amongst several states and governors, there's no real way to even make sense of all this. What's going to happen? You're going to send your quote unquote force to some other state to round up, I don't know, people that you don't want coming to your state? Like, how do you, where does the legality even come from that?
How do you justify that?
And I think this idea of militarizing all of these police forces, I mean, we already know people don't always look favorably on police. But now if we have what is essentially a non-police force having weapons, having the authority to arrest people, where does it stop? And who do these people report to? If a military force, a police force, isn't reporting to the people, and then they're reporting to one person, a governor, that's a problem.
That is absolutely a problem. And I mean, I'll rattle off the list. I mean, DeSantis wants to make America like Florida. So let's review some things that are happening in Florida currently. Okay, we have inflation is 3 times the national level. You got 100-degree oceans, malaria. That's a good one. Doctors, teachers, and migrants are leaving this state in just like a mass exodus. The horrible education system teaching that slavery had benefits to enslaved people. Home prices nobody can afford, and if you can afford it, good luck getting insurance on it. Okayed kidnapping of trans children, which I don't understand why that doesn't get enough and more attention. Constant attacks on people of color, 6-week abortion ban, Nazi sympathizers, hired a personal militia. I ran out of space.
That's a lot.
And had to comment on my own thing here. And he wants to also use radioactive material to pave the roads. Like, what?
An industrious man.
You forgot, you left out of there. There's zero fiscal conservativeness going on there. Okay, conservative like to brag about that they're for the almighty dollar, therefore keeping a cost low. And in fact, this new militia forced funding has cost upwards of over $100 million, starting from $10 million. So right. where is the fiscal conservativeness in that? Do Floridians have over $100 million to spend just on training 1,500 men?
They can't even find leaders. The leaders keep quitting.
I assume the taxes are going to go up, which is something that Republicans always campaign against. So right. Even though in practice they tend to raise the taxes on their own constituents all the time, red states are amazingly disproportionate when it comes to income versus tax rates. But like you said, who's paying for this? Who is beholden to that cost? Who answers for it?
And how are Floridians going to feel when they start to notice their taxes are going up? They will have to in order to fund this, but at the same time, their revenue is going down because people are leaving the state. They don't have enough migrants to help build things. and businesses, corporations are leaving. They are canceling out their future contracts and obligations that they have set up with the state of Florida. They no longer want anything to do with Florida. So I'm wondering, how long is it going to take for the Floridians to see this and realize that this was a bad idea to vote in, re-elect a governor who's trying to just be like Trump, pretty much.
He's like Trump light, though. He's like the bootleg DVD version of Donald Trump. You know what I mean? Like, he does the same hand gestures.
Yes.
You know what I mean? He does the same mannerisms and stuff. Like, he does the flappy duck thing. Like, come on. Doesn't Donald Trump look like a big orange penguin? Like a flightless bird?
Horrible. Every time you see him do, and I know that I really wasn't there and he didn't do it. And his hands is like this. Every time I see his hands like that, I'm like, he's lying.
You know, DeSantis also does the lean. You've seen that, right? Trump, DeSantis, all these crazy guys, they lean forward in an awkward manner when they speak. You have to look it up. It's bizarre.
Yeah.
I think it's little man syndrome, and his lifts are too tall because they're getting taller and taller as his campaign is sinking lower and lower.
Hey, he might want to talk about dressing in drag, wearing them 3-inch heels, trying to act taller. Like, if you got a guy that can't even, if you're not even, like, he's not even happy about, the guy's miserable. The kind of his self-image issues. If you're wearing heels to pretend you're taller as a man, just because you're trying to put off this certain, like, come on, like, his advisors are like, you need to be 2 inches taller. Get the boots. You know what I mean? And then it's like, you need to stop saying woke. Say left-wing narrative. Okay, I'll say that from now on. They're like, woke isn't working. Stop it. We actually made everybody woke by talking about woke all the time. And it totally backfired. Now people are more aware of what woke means. I actually Googled what woke means because of Ron DeSantis. So thank you, Ron DeSantis. You actually helped woke the entire country.
Be woke. Yes.
Well, the Republicans are masters at narratives because they have no policy. So they just craft who you should be afraid of, tell you when you should be afraid, and who you should vote for to stop you being afraid. And this is the same thing where what do you expect him to tell people? Why are you building this force? What are you using it for? Just disaster relief? You don't believe in climate change. So what disasters are you preparing for?
Right.
Who is this showing strength to?
Yes, absolutely. Exactly. Absolutely. You know, a retired Navy veteran who had over 20 years of experience had said that the program got hijacked. That's what happened. The program got hijacked and turned into something that they were trying to stay away from. And that was,
like they said on the Young Turks, it's not uncommon for states to have volunteer militias that help typically with disaster relief and such and so forth. But DeSantis has turned it into his personal little police force that pretty much he commands. I mean, he appoints the person that runs it. Right. So basically, they do what he says. He's out of control.
Charlie Crist went on record saying that no governor should have his own hand-picked secret police, and that's the truth.
And then the next topic we're going to talk about really has me this has my blood boiling. The whole trying to tell kids that are 12 years old that somehow slaves benefited from slavery. Like, how is this even a topic in 2023 America? It is absolutely insane. I can't believe we're talking about it right now. They're teaching kids that slavery was beneficial to slaves. You know why? Like, slaves learn skills. They're free freaking labor. It's income. If they teach them how to be a blacksmith, now that person can that's generating income. You taught them how to be a blacksmith, but you don't have to pay them. It's free,
right?
Free labor.
So do we all kiss the American flag or bow or kneel to our president because we got our high school diploma? Because we got our college degree? That was just normal. That is something that we had to do, that we were told to do. These slaves, they were told to do that. If they became blacksmiths, is because they were forced to be a blacksmith. Suppose they didn't
Right.
want to be a blacksmith. Suppose they wanted to do something else. They didn't have a choice to do that. They would have been beaten, murdered, raped, whatever.
I mean, I'm
go ahead.
sorry, but they had forced breeding programs for
Yes.
crying out loud. I mean,
Yes.
that's real. They had a guy, like a stud, like a horse. You know what I mean? They treated them like cattle, and they would just take all the women in there. Would get a big, strong guy, and he would literally just basically rape all these women and impregnate them.
Yep.
That was the whole point. I mean, that's not how the. I don't even want to say the word because how does that benefit anybody?
Look, they
Kiss my ass with this shit. I'm so tired of this.
This new weird thing that he has put together where slavery was just vocational training. It really goes to show that the people today that are trying to excuse this hold the same mentality as the slave owners. They believe in a labor force, a workforce. Maybe even they believe in people who are, quote, meant to be that workforce. You know, they took people from their home to bring them here to work for them. So you're not going to bring someone here to work for you and not give them a tool to do that work. So they didn't learn anything. They were forced to be blacksmiths. They were forced to pick plants and cotton and things in the field. They were forced to be servants. They were forced to reproduce against their will to continue generating, you know, more tools, more farm hands, if you will. So this thing is so incredibly insulting because it seems that this mentality, they expect it to be accepted as if, who are they trying to explain this to? The people that are already racist that probably agree with it? Yeah. No, they're trying to brainwash or, I don't know, maybe groom children into believing something that's untrue that benefits them.
Oh, you can't say that word about them. They're not groomers. Remember, they're the Democrats are the groomers.
My bad.
Yep.
I can't keep it straight.
Obviously I'm being sarcastic in case anybody's out there. Huh?
That was beautifully put, Mike.
Yes, it was.
When you said, darn, no, it just escaped me.
Sorry, I threw you off.
Yes, you did.
They blame it on me. It's fine. It's cool.
Blame it on the Democrats. Thanks, right. Obama.
Right.
When you said it was an insult, it is a definite insult to all the ancestors of today, of all of us living today who had ancestors who were slaves. It is an insult to all of us. It is an insult to them. If they can hear in their grave, they would be flipping around 100 times to be told that they benefited from slavery. So we have a response. Our Vice President, Miss Kamala Harris, this crawled under her skin apparently, and she decided she wanted to pay a special visit to Florida to voice her opinion in rebuttal to say, hell no, Black people did not benefit from slavery. In fact, the question was, do school standards say enslaved people benefit from slavery? Which is what Harris had asked. Why don't you play this clip?
Know what slavery really involved. It involved rape. It involved torture.
Yes.
It involved taking a baby from their mother. How is it that anyone could suggest that in the midst of these atrocities, that there was any benefit to being subjected to this level of dehumanization?
Amen. Amen.
That was Kamala Harris, the country's first Black vice president, in Jacksonville, Florida today, saying something that should not be up for debate. The vice president's speech comes as Florida faces backlash over new standards for teaching Black history in public schools. Those standards require middle schoolers to learn that enslaved people, quote, developed skills that personally benefited them.
No, it is, as Mike, as you said, it is beyond insulting. Again, as Vice President Harris said, how is it that you can say these people who were put through absolute hell for the entirety of their lives that they benefited from it, that they developed skills. How about the slaves who were slaves for their entire lives? You understand? Before what was it, 1865? Before they were emancipated. How about them? Would they say that they agreed that they benefited? They were born a slave and they died a slave. You really have to say, how dare these people? How dare DeSantis and his educational department? And how
they act like they had
sit around and just let him and agree with him to do and say these ridiculous things.
I mean, this assholes. I mean, I'm sorry, I keep hitting the wrong button. This asshole keeps talking like they had 9-to-5 jobs that they went home to and sat with their wife and kids and had dinner around the fire. Like, really, the people died while they were working because they were forced to work until they dropped.
I find the irony. Man. I think the irony is actually entertaining here because they're probably not teaching logic, argument, how to form arguments in these schools, because with every racist argument, with every bigoted idea, there is no logic. None of these things make any sense. Like you said, Jeremy, and Esteban, actually, you brought it up. If you're born a slave and die a slave, what do they think? They're passing this down to their young ones, if you will? Well, not when these people were broken apart, split apart. As soon as mothers had children, these families were ripped apart, torn to shreds. There's no logic in this. There's just hate. There's just bigotry. And there's just a narrative that he's trying to push. That's it.
Right. And where's the benefit in and being raped and murdered? So you were taught to be a blacksmith, and then the next day you were raped.
Mm-hmm. Well, they'll say it didn't happen.
Or say it didn't happen. Right.
Well, when you're rewriting history, where does it stop?
Say that again.
Well, then
when you're rewriting history, where does that stop? You could take out every detail you want. You could even say that they sent over boats with signs that said free work, we'll pay for transportation, and people will end up believing it if that's what you teach for 10 years, 20 years.
And, just to pour salt on the wound, Fox News, this asshole who's a primetime host, literally tries to explain to a Jewish woman that people from the Holocaust benefited. Let me play this stupid ass shit real quick. I'm
saying as someone, obviously I'm not black, but I'm Jewish. Would someone say about the Holocaust, for instance, that there were some benefits for Jews, right? While they were hanging out in concentration camps, you learned a strong work ethic, right? Maybe you learned a new skill.
Did you ever read Man's Search for Meaning? Vic Frankl talks about how you had to survive in a concentration camp by having skills. You had to be useful. Utility kept you alive.
Look, if I may, you didn't survive concentration camps by learning skills because they were death camps. The idea that they were concentration camps as if they were, I don't know, teaching people together, gathering people together to teach them a trade. No, these were death camps. And one thing that has always bothered me with this idea, and you actually see it quite a bit in the anti-Semitic world, there's a phrase on the gate to Auschwitz, and my German is terrible, but it's Arbeit macht frei, which translates to work makes one free. I'm going to say the word insulting again because that was insulting then, it's insulting now. The idea that anyone could be taken from their freedom and forced to do something for someone else's bidding and or just be executed because of who you are, you're not learning anything, you're dying, you're being murdered. And the idea that anyone would excuse this is despicable.
No, it's funny that you mentioned Auschwitz because I actually went there as a kid. We lived in Germany and Poland, so we actually went, and so I've actually been there. I don't remember visuals of it, but I do remember this god awful. Just you can feel it when you're there. You can literally feel the death. I mean, he executed 6 million people in 4 years. 1.5 million people a year. How many people is that a day? Like, we cannot have, and then Fox News has not said, I'm sorry for this dumbass saying it. They've not retracted his statement. And the woman, I can't believe she didn't get up and slap the living shit out of this guy right on the show. She should have stood up, walked over, and just right in the face on live television. That's what she should have done from that statement right there.
That would have been a great meme.
I don't condone violence yet, but that would have been a free slap if I've ever seen one. I mean,
and
for real.
Piggybacking on what Mike had just said in regards to taking away the freedoms from these people, isn't that kind of a little bit what we're experiencing now? Which means the next turn is death. That the government will be able to put us to death for anything. But when it comes to women's rights, isn't that the same thing? How are they able to tell all women what to do with their bodies based on what a few believe? How do you take all women's freedoms away in respect to their bodies just based on the views of a few? The next after that is going to be if you say a curse word, you're going to be hung or stoned to death. It's crazy.
I said it to you.
They're doing that with some.
Go
ahead, Jeremy. Sorry.
Oh, I was going to say, I said it. That's about a long time ago, and you thought I was crazy. That I think Ron DeSantis is trying to fully segregate the state.
No, he is. He is a full actual fascist. He's not even hiding it. We're past the point where there's veiled propaganda. He's literally saying these things. We are going to tell people that people who were enslaved benefited from it, and then Fox says people who were in Auschwitz benefited from it. They are doing it. There is we're just like we're past the point of global warming. We're in boiling now. We're in social boiling. We're in fascism is boiling over, and it's becoming mainstream, and it's getting really scary.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, in reality, the reality is there has been a I hate using this word, but there has been a pro-Nazi element to the United States since World War II. It has never been gone.
They held rallies here.
You just had to do it. You had to warn me before you put that up. I wasn't ready for that. Right in my face. Thank you very much. Oh, that was perfect. Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
I mean, but that's what he's like. If Hitler had a playbook, and I hate saying that word too, but if Hitler had a playbook, this guy is going through it page by page, line by line. Right. I mean, it's gonna, if we don't stop him, camps, I mean, it's not far-fetched. World War II, we had internment camps for the Japanese.
I mean, we held Mexican people in cages. It did start already. It's just they're calling it different things, and they're saying we're trying to help you, but at some point, real camps are going to open in Florida, in Texas, in states where they're already trying to say that a woman who seeks an abortion for an ectopic pregnancy should be put to death. They're openly speaking these words of evil, and no one's calling them out on it.
No, they've used words in regards to the trans people. They've used the word eradicate.
Yep.
That is a word that Hitler used against the Jews.
That is a coded word. It is a specific word.
That is a very specific word. That is not a beating around the bush kind of word.
That's a dog whistle to people who agree with it. That's what that is.
And just by hearing that, it's heartbreaking, at least for me, to know that there are still human beings on this earth that think of of other people in that sense, that will use that word to get rid of other people, living, breathing people. It's heartbreaking. It's not fair. It's not fair.
But hopefully us doing things like this and trying to there's more and more people doing things like we're doing, getting the word out, standing up, speaking out. Because not all of us are down with this shit. You know what I mean? Most of us are not. Until we come together.
I'm happy to see people leaving Florida, businesses leaving Florida. I think there was, I'm going to mess up the name and all that, but there was a convention for all the HBCU fraternities. And they used to have their convention there, and now they're like, nope, no more.
A lot of places are pulling conventions for future because they don't want the hospital. I mean, what is Florida's main source of income? It's freaking tourism. Why would you turn the state into a place nobody wants to go?
Disney's going to leave. I'm telling you. Disney will leave. If pushed enough, Disney will take all of its money and leave.
And that's going to annoy me. That's going to annoy me because right now, we're on the east side. So it's convenient to get on a plane and hop down there to go to Disney. Now you're gonna force me to have to travel all the way across the nation just to go to Disney World. What?
Yeah,
they're not moving to New York. I'll tell you that.
I mean, it's an amazing place too. Like I've been to Disneyland and Disney World. I mean, both those places they're phenomenal. Why would you want to get rid of that? It's literally like the biggest source of income in the entire state, the biggest employer. I mean, it's basically its own financial institution, for crying out loud.
Won't go broke.
It's not going to change. It got worse until Floridians come to an understanding of what's happening. They first have to realize that their state, their home, is going into the toilet. It's going to the toilet, and this also adds to the severity of all of us banding together for the 2024 election, and realize on a national level we are not going to stand for this in no way. Okay, so lastly, we have you brought up, Jeremy, we talked a little bit about wokeness, right? How everything out of DeSantis' mouth is about being woke, and in fact we can see that it's backfiring on him, right? A little bit. It's backfiring because he's given people the opportunity to go and find the definition of what woke means. And it basically means, for all those who still don't know what it means, it's basically exactly what it sounds like. You are aware of your surroundings. You are aware to the social injustices that are taking place yesterday, today, and tomorrow. That's pretty much all it is. And so when he talks about wokeness, he's basically saying to you, you should not be aware of your surroundings. You should not be aware that you cannot say gay. You should not be aware that slavery was really bad. These are the things that he's saying every time he's putting down woke. What say you guys really quick?
When has awareness ever been a bad thing?
Right.
I don't know.
When it goes against the Republican element.
Right. They don't want you to watch what they're doing. That's the problem. They want to keep doing the shitty stuff behind the scenes, and they want you to be as ignorant as possible.
I think it's just more language theft, right? They stole the flag. They stole the word patriot. They stole woke. And now they're stealing racism, right? A lot of polls are saying that white Republicans think the biggest problem against them is racism against white people. These words have no meanings anymore because these bad actors have polluted them, and now they're muddying the historical waters.
So they think that racism, they've been polluted with racism against white people, and so they believe the things that they're doing and saying is going to help that. It's just going to make people be even more hateful towards a certain party or a certain culture. It's not going to make things better. Is that what they want? They want civil war. They want divisiveness.
Some of them. They thrive in fear. They thrive in hate. They thrive in division. You know, they're the ones that saying, why don't the Democrats reach across the aisle? Because you've set a fire in the middle of the aisle. Right. You have done that.
Right. See, it makes sense. So you actually kind of brought it up. That's what they do. They divide. That's what they want. So if they want to divide us, doesn't it make logical sense for the rest of us, the 75% of the sane people in this country, to unite? The opposite of division is unity. So unity can overcome division if we were smart enough to come together despite our differences.
If we got to work on that. Enough, damn it, that's the question. Are we smart enough? Are we smart enough to come together? Because if you notice, they're putting down almost every how do you say, every element, every factor. They're putting down Black people. They're putting down Asians. They're putting down gay people. They're putting down disability people with disabilities. They're putting down women. They're putting down almost every factor of humanity, of life. They're putting down immigrants. So when will Americans get smart, shut up, keep your emotions to the side, and band together? The more they decide, they try to divide and conquer, the more that everyone else should band together to get rid
Thank
of
you.
them.
Yep.
Thank you for saying that. That's absolutely
it.
perfect.
Okay.
I'm good.
So-
You finished it off for me.
All
I don't even
What
have to
else
say
is there
nothing
to
else
say?
after that.
right. So with that said, that will be the conclusion of our sound off in regards to Governor DeSantis. We're gonna finish the segment with one of the newest commercials from the Lincoln Project, who I have so much respect and credit for them for the things that they do and they say. A bunch of Republicans who are trying to stand up against what is happening now. I hope you guys continue to have a great day, and we'll finish out the week with love, 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 love. Okay, if you had a goal that you've accomplished or achieved today, don't forget to say to yourself, "This is how we do it." Watch this clip.
Whoa, 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 mob, whoa, 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 whoa,